Greetings from Boston. Dominic Thiem has consolidated his victory over Rafael Nadal yesterday with a very decisive win over the South African big server Kevin Anderson. Final score 6-4, 6-2. I want to talk about that match. In the other semifinal, the power and accuracy and consistency and force of will of the German Alexander Zverev was just too much for the young Canadian Denis Shapovalov to handle. So Zverev sends Denis Shapovalov packing. Final score 6-4, 6-1. I also want to talk about that match, and I also want to preview the final, which is Dominic Thiem versus Alexander Zverev. Subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up. Let's talk tennis. There is a myth that circulates which suggests that the one-handed backhand is somehow a liability on clay. And it is false, and we are due for a one-handed revolution on clay, and I think it's happening. Let's take the Madrid Open in 2018 as an example. In the first round, the round of 64, there were 13 players hitting one-handed backhands, which is about 20% of the draw. That reflects the proportion of one-handers in the top 100. There's about 20 of them, give or take. As we moved through the tournament, however, and the cream rose to the top in the semifinals, what did it look like in terms of the one-handers? Well, 2 of the 4 men left standing in the semis hit one-handers. It was Dominic Thiem and Denis Shapovalov. So 50%, essentially, half the players in the final rounds in the semifinals, and now in the final, which is going to be Zverev versus Thiem, you've got a one-hander in there. So that suggests, actually, that the one-handers played this tournament better than the two-handers did, in general, right? They started at 20% of the draw, and they were 2 of the 4 men left standing in the semifinals. Well, there were other great one-handed players in this tournament. Of course, Tsitsipas struck out a bit early, but there was Cuevas, there was Dimitrov, who didn't do so well either. There was Kohlschreiber, Lajovic, there was Lopez for a while. The really good ones have gone very deep into this tournament. Many of the great clay court players in history, in fact, every great clay court player until the Open era was a one-hander, basically. And there's a tradition from Lendl to Orantes to Rosewall, Querton, Codes, Panada, Noah, Laver, Federer, Nastase, Muster. Oh yes, so many great clay court players that hit one-handed backhands, and the Madrid Open, I think, kind of bears that out. So we're due for a one-handed revolution in clay court play, and Dominic Thiem is poised to lead this revolution. So what was Thiem's secret in the match against Anderson, which again he prevailed in 6-4, 6-2? Well, he served very consistently. He was landing a variety of shots, and I think this is really the key to Thiem's success, particularly against Anderson, because he brought a different game to Anderson than he brought to Nadal. To beat Nadal, in a way, you have to out-Nadal Nadal, and you have to tailor your game to deal with the threat, the particular threat that Nadal presents. And that's what Thiem did yesterday in the match against Nadal when he trounced the great Rafael Nadal in straight sets. Well, the key is the variety, particularly off the backhand side. He was spinning shots in to Anderson today in ways that Anderson, who's a very tall man, could not deal with. He did not have answers for it. It was taking him off balance. The low slices over the net off the backhand side were really hurting Anderson. A few times he ended up looking very awkward reaching for these shots. There were some strange bounces, to be sure, but Thiem was taking full advantage of this surface and really just outsmarting Kevin Anderson with all the variety. Now, with that said, Anderson was not having a great day, and he did not play very well. There were lots of unforced errors from Anderson, but I do believe that it wasn't the power of Thiem's backhands that really did Anderson in. It was the variety coming off of Thiem's backhand side that really did Anderson in. Particularly, you got the drop shots as well, but there was all kinds of interesting spins and variety coming off of Thiem's racket. Very impressive, very beautiful, and I think he's poised to do well in this final, which we'll get to in 1 second. In the other semifinal, you had Zverev versus Shapo. I was hoping for a clean sweep by the one-handers in this tournament, and I was hoping that Shapo could do some business here with Zverev, who was sort of the favorite coming into this, certainly has something of an experiential advantage over Shapo. Well, Shapo looked great in the first few games, and they protected very well for the first few games, and then almost in an instant, Zverev had turned it around and stolen the first set through a variety of errors from Shapo, but also just very strong play from Zverev. And then Zverev just started to march. What Shapo did not bring is what Thiem did bring. Shapo did not bring much variety off his backhand side. He has a nice one-hander, but he was not exploiting the one-hander for all it can offer in the way that Thiem was against Anderson. And it made sense for Shapo to bring a similar strategy because Zverev's a big guy. He's got to bend down to get those low shots. One thing Thiem was doing so well is with the low slices over the net. And sometimes, of course, when they're so low over the net, it obscures the vision of the opponent. Can't quite see where the ball is coming until it's cleared the net. And it really did work against Anderson. Just the spin variety that Thiem presented was very impressive, but none of that from Shapo. So that was a strategy that he could have, I think, employed here to great effect and with some great results, but he was just not able to find any rhythm. And I think credit to Alexander Zverev for not giving Shapo any time to kind of produce a strategy. It just seemed like he was kind of on the defensive the whole time. So, and then he fell apart as the match progressed. It was a bit of a sad sight to see. I still like Tsitsipas a little bit more than Shapo. I think he brings a certain natural style of play to the court. I think he just holds a bit more promise. But I do like Shapo. He's up there. He's a bit of a torchbearer as well. But in any case, we have a final teed up between Zverev and Thiem. And listen, I hate to sound like a broken record here, but I think that Thiem should basically come at Zverev in the same way that he came at Anderson. If he can continue to serve well, if he can add variety with drop shots and the angles that he was bringing to Anderson as well, but also with the different spin varieties that he was presenting to Anderson, and which really did stump Anderson today, who was having a hard time moving around the court. Well, Zverev moves well. Zverev's better than Anderson. And his defense out of his backhand corner, Zverev brings a two-fister, but his defense out of the backhand corner is very effective. That's coming from someone who loves one-handers. You know me. Well, I give credit to the German Alexander Zverev for a very nimble two-hander that he can pick those balls out of the corners as well, and he can also just go with the main dimension of the two-hander, which is these devastating cross courts with immense power and pace. So I think Thiem's best chance is with the variety. Use the one-hander for all it's worth. Try the slicing low over the net. Slices will work. They worked against Anderson. They will work against Zverev. Shapo didn't even try it. He was hitting all his backhands with topspin. It won't work. It might work against Nadal if you're placing them well enough, but it's not going to work against Zverev, I don't think. So those are my thoughts. Drop a comment. I want to know what you think about this match. I think it's going to be a close match, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm hoping that Thiem comes through. He deserves it. He's a great clay court player. I think on his best day, he is a better clay court player than Alexander Zverev. So if Thiem brings his best level, his highest level, I think he can do this. On the other hand, Zverev really looks to be in good form this week. Give me your thoughts. Let me know, and I will try to do a video tomorrow. Best wishes. Bye-bye.